Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Euro 2020 fantasy football content. My name is Dan and here it is, the video a lot of you guys have been waiting for a little while. It's Matchday 1 Euro buy, sell, keep, avoid. It's kind of the biggest the biggest video on my channel throughout the FPL season. So I thought, why not try and transition it to Euro fantasy as well and see how well it does, see if you guys enjoy it over here in this format as well. Hopefully it's going to be pretty good. So yeah, that's this is what the video is going to be all about. Hopefully you enjoy it, guys. If you do, give a big like for the return of buy, sell, keep, avoid, and of course subscribe if this is the first time you're seeing my face. Why not? Let's get it. And one more thing, guys, this is actually going to be the final video I ever record in this room, which is quite crazy because I am moving house, and whilst you watch this video I'll probably be packing up boxes, moving house, because I am pre-recording this video by a day because I'm moving technically tomorrow on Tuesday. So yeah, from now on it's going to be a new room. They're all going to change, hopefully, but we'll talk about that later. Right now I think we should talk about the buys, the sells, the keeps and avoids. Guys, some of you all know the rules, but for those of you who are new around here, let me explain this to you. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing into your team. Now, these players are going to be our top transfer targets of the match day. Sells are players you probably have but should consider actually removing from your teams. They're popular players that, in my opinion, should not be popular. We've got keeps, players that you probably have and should also keep. Maybe you're considering selling them, but I'm here to convince you not to sell them. And finally, we've got avoids, players you probably don't have but should also avoid them. Maybe they're being really hyped right now and you're tempted to get them. Lots of people are buying them in, but I'm here to tell you that I don't think they're actually that great buys. Now, for the first episodes, it's going to be kind of tricky, as you know, because sells and avoids basically mean the same thing, and buys and keeps basically mean the same thing in the first round. So that might be a little bit confusing. So what I'm going to try and do is put some slightly more differential players in the buy section, and I'll put the more popular players in the keep and sell places, I guess. And avoid, that's going to be pretty much the same as sell this episode. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, just enjoy the picks, and trust me, the rules will make more sense when we do the next episode before match day 2. So our first buy is Memphis Depay. I'll buy Depay. Wow, I'm a poet and I didn't even realise it. I think most of us will kind of agree that Depay is one of the first names that should be on your team sheet. In terms of targeting the best matchday 1 fixtures, this game against Ukraine could be one of the best ones to go for. Ukraine have only won 2 out of their last 12 games in all competitions, and last year they had some pretty over the last year. They had some pretty big scores against them. So Spain beat them 4-0, France beat them 7-1, Germany beat them 3-1, Switzerland beat them 3-0. Now, unfortunately for Ukraine, they are just going to be one of the weaker defences in the competition, which means it's a great time to go for some forwards who play against them. Now, for the Netherlands team, a strong team, why not look any further than their star player Memphis Depay? Now, at club level, Memphis scored 20 goals and got 12 assists in 37 games for Olympique Lyon. At international level, he's having an even better year. He's dominating the goal contributions for Netherlands. If the Netherlands score, you know he's had a hand in the goal. He's currently on a run of 7 goals and 3 assists in 7 games for the Netherlands, and that is exactly the kind of player I like for fantasy, the standout player from his team. Because if Netherlands are going to score against Ukraine, who do you think it's going to be? Memphis. If Netherlands score 2, 3, 4 goals, suddenly how many goals is Memphis going to score? Well, maybe 2, 3, or maybe even 4, or at least get an assist or a hand in one of those goals. It's going to be Memphis Hall, points galore, and that's why he's in my team. And I really recommend to the 85% of Euro fantasy players that don't have Memphis that you buy him. Next buy is Joachim Mæhle. Okay, yeah, again, this is a little bit more differential, and this is why it's in the buy section, because a lot of you guys probably don't have him in your team yet. Now, he's 2% owned, and a player I spoke about in my video yesterday. To be fair, he's a player I've spoken about quite a lot, and that's because I genuinely do think he's a fabulous pick for many, many reasons. Now, aside from being differential, he's a great budget enabler at just 4.5 million. He's playing for one of the strongest defences in the tournament in Denmark, who have had 9 clean sheets in their last 12 international games. Because of the way Denmark line up, he can provide the width and get forward. The fact that he is kind of deployed on the left despite being a naturally right-footed player means that he often cuts in and runs towards the opposition's box. This means he can play through balls, short passes, rather than the typical fullback who is a little bit more limited to crosses. It does also mean that he can drive towards the goal a little bit more directly and take on shots himself. Now, this is reflected in the 2 goals he's already scored for Denmark, despite only making his debut for Denmark like a year ago, I think. It's only like a year ago. So it's not too bad for a cheap defender, right? Another reason I wanted to talk about Mæhle is because I want to emphasise how important it is to go for attacking fullbacks rather than centre-backs in this game. Now, centre-backs in Fantasy Premier League, for example, will often get clean sheets. And then bonus points will top them up to 7 or 8 or 9 points. So that works in Fantasy Premier League. But because there's no bonus points in Euro Fantasy, it means that centre-backs, or perhaps more accurately, defensive defenders, can't really score more than 6 points unless they happen to score a header from a corner or something. Now, corner headers are a bit more random, so it's difficult to predict them. But with naturally attacking players who play in their opponent's half anyway, despite being listed as a defender, they are far more likely to score you points. And I think that's going to be one of the key things to remember when picking the right players for this game. How many avenues can my player score points? Is he going to get shots in the box? Is he going to take touches in the box? Is he going to get in the opposition's box? Is he going to make dangerous passes in those dangerous positions? I think Mæhle ticks all these boxes, so I guess he would be my differential buy of this video. Sell N'Golo Kante. Now, I'm sure a lot of you more experienced fantasy managers, you probably saw this one coming. You just knew that Kante was going to get a mention. How could he not get a mention? So he is the 5th most popular pick in the game currently, with 40% of players going for him. Now, this 40% of players, these people are going to be the guys that we're going to beat. We're going to beat this 40%, because if you're part of the 40%, you should come and join the winning side. Come on, come and join us. The unfortunate fact is that Kante is more likely to get you a red or a yellow card and actually get you minus points than to get a goal or an assist. We know for Chelsea he plays as a kind of a defensive role, not really contributing directly to goals, which means no points. But for France, he plays in an even more defensive role, sitting just in front of the defence. And for those of you who play Champions League fantasy, for example, thinking you're going to get points for ball recoveries, well, there's no ball recovery points in Euro Fantasy. It's basically just goals and assists for midfielders that will be our main outlets for success. And a player that has no real chance of scoring goals or assists, any kind of defensive midfielder, is really a bit of a waste of a slot in your team. It sounds harsh, but that's just how the scoring works in many fantasy football games. I understand people will want to pick him. He's a friendly face, a well-known quantity, I guess. He's a famed world-class footballer, but unfortunately, you don't get points for just being good at footy. We need goals and assists, and knowing this will be the difference between the new and casual players of the game and those of us who are hungry to dominate our leagues. In terms of suggestions of other players for the same price, there are a few more attacking players you can go for. So David Alaba plays left midfield for Austria and will also be on set pieces. Yusuf Yazici is an attacking midfielder who scored a load of goals in Ligue 1 this season. Honestly though, there's not a lot of options for this price. If you're going to go for a player who won't score you any points anyway, you may as well pick a 4.5 or 5 million midfielder and save even more money. Or just spend the extra 0.5, go for a 6 million player who might have a bit more attacking potential. There's loads of more attacking options for 6 million that will present themselves to you if you upgrade the budget a little bit. My next sell is Kevin De Bruyne. So guys, if you've got KDB, you do have to sell him, I think, and replace him with someone else. Belgium's first game against Russia does look extra spicy, but it does look kind of doubtful that KDB is even going to fixture. So if you watch the Champions League final, you will know that De Bruyne injured his face during the game. He's now undergone a small operation on the bones around his nose and around his eyes. This operation is going to mean he will be in much better condition throughout the tournament. He might not even have to wear a mask, but it also means that he's a major doubt for the first game, according to Belgian manager Roberto Martinez. They're going to monitor the situation day by day, but I doubt we'll have any news before Friday. And if we don't get any news, honestly, I think it's best to just leave him out your team. It does seem a little bit silly to spend 10.5 million on a player who we know is unlikely to feature at all in the first game when you can spend it on those other players. You can always use it to beef up your squad with some other Belgian players. We all know Lukaku is a great option, for example. And if you really want KDB, why not just create a transfer plan where maybe you can use one of your 2 transfers before Matchday 2 to bring him in at a later date. Either way, 34% of you guys have KDB in your team, and I do recommend that you sell him. On to some keeps. We'll start you off with Romelu Lukaku. So I literally just mentioned Lukaku, so that's a pretty good segue, right? But yes, 42% of you guys already have Lukaku, and I recommend that it stays that way. Keep Lukaku in your squads. As many of you guys will know, he's an absolute beast at international level. 60 goals in 93 games for Belgium makes him, I guess, literally one of the most prolific international strikers, I guess, ever in many ways. If you look more recently in Lukaku's last 8 international games, he has 8 goals in an assist. Club form, amazing. Again, for Inter this season, he has 30 goals and 10 assists in just 44 games. He's recording almost a goal contribution a game on average. So what we do have here is a player who's proven long-term, proven short-term, done it all season for his club. The whole Belgium team is basically set up to be a bunch of creative players surrounding the spearhead that is Lukaku. And in terms of attacking players, this could be the peak tournament of Belgium's golden generation. They're likely to be one of the favourites to win the entire tournament. Then the fixtures look good. Russia first. Russia have had some big scores against them in the last year. They lost 5-0 to Serbia. That jumps out in particular. But they also lost 3-1 to Turkey. If you go back to 2019, they actually lost 4-1 to Belgium. Of course, Lukaku scored in that game. How could he not? After that, Belgium have got Denmark. Tough game for an attacker, but if everyone's scoring, if anyone's scoring, I guess, well, it's going to be Lukaku, right? And finally, tournament underdogs, Finland. Who do you think is going to score against Finland? It's going to be Lukaku, surely. So Lukaku is the second most popular pick in the game for a very good reason. Absolutely keep him. So next keep is Mason Mount. I've actually not spoken much about England players in my videos. I'm sure my fellow Englishmen watching this video are going to be pretty disappointed in me, but hopefully we can fix that here. But one of the most popular England picks is Mason Mount, and for 7 million, I completely understand why. He's an incredible bargain. He's had an incredible season with Chelsea, being one of the, if not the best players in the team. He's won the Champions League. He seems to be well and truly nailed his spot in the England first 11. He's one of Gareth Southgate's favourites. He's going to be starting. We know this for sure. He scored 2 goals and grabbed 1 assist in his last 4 England appearances. If you go back to his last 12 England appearances, 4 goals and 2 assists. So we're looking at a goal contribution every other game, which really isn't too bad for a 7 million midfielder. Honestly though, with his improvement, his importance to the England squad, I do think he can do even better than that. So I think everyone in England is hoping he's going to have a really big tournament. And he certainly offers the most value of any of the players for England. The first fixture is against Croatia. I'm not too convinced by this one. But after that, Scotland, the Czech Republic, they could present some real opportunities for points. Now, if you're an England fan and you want a player who isn't Kane, then Mount is definitely the player to go for. So on to some avoids. We're going to start with Matthijs de Ligt. So he's got a bit of a race to be fit for the first game, but I do think he is going to play. He's selected by 39% of Euro fantasy managers, and he seems to be gaining traction as kind of quite a popular pick. I want to kind of make sure you guys don't hop on this particular hype train. So de Ligt, 5.5 million, which on the face of it seems a fair price, but then you have to ask yourself, what are you getting for that money? Well, I'm guessing first and foremost you're hoping for a few clean sheet points. I guess that could happen. The first game is against Ukraine for the Netherlands, but arguably Netherlands have a good group in general. I mean, they do have a good group in general, but at the same time, without Van Dijk, they're not exactly well known for being a strong defensive team. In 2021, they've already conceded 4 goals against Turkey in a 4-2 loss, and they conceded 2 goals against Scotland just the other day. The only clean sheet they've kind of kept over the last year were against Poland, Bosnia, Latvia, Gibraltar and Georgia. Fair enough, that is a few amount of clean sheets, but it's really hard to judge that given that bar Poland and maybe Bosnia, the rest are literally some of the weakest sides in world football that they've kept clean sheets against. So still, maybe they will get a clean sheet or 2 in their group, but then what? De Ligt is realistically unlikely to get any goals or assists during this tournament. He's only scored once for Juventus all season this year, and for Netherlands, he's only ever scored twice. It's not his job to score. It's not his job to get assists. That's not what his role is within the team. So basically, you can kind of get an absolute maximum of 6 points from De Ligt from him in each match day, and that's assuming the Netherlands keep a clean sheet despite them not being known for keeping clean sheets. So do you know where I'm kind of going with this? Why pick him? Why not go for someone like Wijndal, 1 million cheaper, plays in a far more attacking position at that left wing back, creates chances, takes the odd shot. He can get you points in more ways than one. In fact, I would go as far as to say that if Wijndal was the same price or even more expensive than De Ligt, I would still go for Wijndal. I would still say he's the better option than De Ligt. That's how strongly I kind of feel about this. And for that reason alone, when there's so many cheaper options in defence who have a much better chance of getting you points in all kinds of different kinds of ways rather than just potential for clean sheets, De Ligt becomes just a bit of an avoid player. He just does not provide any of the value in a fantasy game that has the scoring system worked out in this way. And we'll finish you off with a final avoid of Burak Yilmaz. 13% of Euro managers do fancy Yilmaz for their teams. I kind of get it. He's at a price point where there really isn't too many other options. He's an absolute legend of Turkish football, and he's coming off the back of a strong season with Lille as well. He's also in pretty decent recent international form. He scored against Moldova and Latvia this year, and he scored a hat-trick in the 4-2 win against the Netherlands back in March, which was the game I kind of just mentioned, I guess. But before that, he actually hadn't scored in 10 international appearances. In fact, prior to that Netherlands game where he scored the 3 goals, he'd only actually scored 1 international goal since 2017, which that was against Albania in 2019. So it does make me question his international output a little bit. Now, maybe some fans will disagree with me, maybe I'm missing something, but here's where I'm at. Are we really backing an almost 36-year-old striker to score against an Italian team with the best recent defensive record in international football on the cagey opening night of the tournament? Are we trusting Yilmaz to end Italy's 8-game streak of clean sheets on a stage like this? I think you have to have a lot of faith to believe that something could happen here. And fair enough, if you're playing for fun, have fun. But when I want to win, I prefer not to bring faith or hope into the decision-making process. And instead, I try and target the right players with the right fixtures. Now, Yilmaz for the second game onwards, okay, yes, actually, that could quite work. But for this opener, for Turkey, it's going to be difficult for any of their attacking players. And if you want to get those points on the board nice and early, I do think you're best off spending your money elsewhere. And 8 million is a decent chunk of money. It's a decent wedge of money. And I do think you can get a pretty decent player with a good fixture as well for that money. So there you go, guys, quick summary for you. We do a summary at the end of the buy, sell, keep, avoid videos, and I think the basic message of this video is to don't go for defensive midfielders. They're not going to pick you up points, and try and go for attacking defenders, you know, fullbacks, wing backs, those kind of players, or maybe extreme aerial threats, those kind of players, or players who potentially take set pieces as well. Something. You know, there's many ways of getting points, but you have to make sure you're picking players who do have different avenues. A clean sheet is not going to get you, if you're just going for clean sheets, it's not going to get you very far. If you're picking, you know, a defensive midfielder who can only get you clean sheets, not many points available there. If you're picking a defender who can only get you clean sheets, you better make sure that they're in a very good defensive team if that's the only output that you're going to be getting from them, and also make sure they're a good price as well, because we do want a little bit more from our fantasy players, don't we? But there you go, guys. I think that sums things up quite nicely. By Depay and Lukaku, they're going to smash it this week. Thank you so much for watching this first buy, sell, keep, avoid video of the Euros. We're going to be doing this for every match day throughout the tournament. So do make sure you subscribe if you want those weekly tips on the best players to buy, sell, keep, and avoid for your teams. Hopefully, we're really going to help you out with these guys. Like the video, subscribe. I already said that. And of course, I will see you when I've moved into the next house. Hopefully, when we're moved in, we're all settled. Will be plenty more content for you guys. Of course, I'm not gonna let the house move stop me in my tracks. Don't worry about that. Plenty of stuff to come. Thank you guys for watching once again. For the last time in this room, I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.